Hi, that's me. I Get Real, and I am waking up with worse, or I'm not waking up. It's been a couple hours, but my neck hurts so bad. So we had to leave at like 8, but we didn't really leave till like after 8:15. I vacuumed the front of the car, but I didn't. I did the passenger seat and the floor and part of the undercarpet floor. It's really filthy. I emptied the trash and or the thing, and I breathed all that stupid dust in. That was not smart. I should have brought it to the porch and ran the rainbow over it, but I'll do it next time. And it was like sand and junk. Like, oh, I want to keep the sand. It must be from I went to the beach a couple years ago. I got all excited. But I don't want to let go, so I wanted to make this video. I don't think I posted yesterday about or I made a video, but I don't think I posted about prepping survivalists, preparing for storms and natural disasters, and personal disasters has been a big one in my life. Financial disasters, the loss of wallet, homeless. That happened more than once. Just living freaking homeless. You're with a bunch of really, like your stuff is not necessarily protected too well. Let's just say it that way. I didn't want it's an individual, not necessarily their homelessness, that causes them to steal my wallet. So it's almost like a hurricane out here where I am. It's dark, it's cloudy, it's not raining. It feels moist, like moist. People don't like that word. It feels humid to me. Let's see what my phone says. So I don't have my weekend job today. This has been happening every month, at least 1 or 2 weekends. I don't have work, and it's really weird. But I did a bunch of billing yesterday. I need the money by Wednesday, a lot of money, and I didn't do the billing till Friday. I should have submitted a bunch of stuff way before then. But it is what it is, you know. I need to, basically, since I can't do it myself, I should never try to do it myself, but I definitely need to pray about getting that emergency fund and stuff because I can't, no, I don't have, like, going back to prepping and financial disaster. So 48% humidity, 81 degrees up here. It's 10 degrees lower than it was a few days ago up here, and it's the circulation air is on. I finally opened that window in the hallway. I did not put the fan in. I'm in a lot of pain. I keep saying that. I'm sorry. It's just like, it's so distracting, and it's like you're drugged or something. It's like it takes away like your really good ability to think and focus. It just distracts you from being able to focus. But you gotta adapt. So this storm keeps changing from this Irma from but it's so let's go back to being people keep asking me, why don't you eat lentils? That's been a big question. When I was a kid, I never heard of a lentil. I haven't even heard of a lentil until like a few years ago. Like I might have had some food. Someone has some rice with lentils or some kind of Indian food. I don't know, some soup. All right, okay, I've had it in the past like 5 years, but I had bought lentils. I've got them from the food bank. What the heck am I supposed to do with them? So I just look up a raw food burger, lentil burger, like sprouted or something. Um, so I where they sent a bunch of Doctors to Caribbean. I always wish I could be sent as a doctor to help with the rescue effort, but they're actually all traveling with their white coats on. It's funny. I was gonna sell my. I have 3 white coats. I was gonna sell them. You want to buy one? One is a really bad ink stain, and that's my gosh if I keep the worst one. And I have Grey's Anatomy. 750 health workers. That's a lot of people. Having done so during West Africa's Ebola crisis during 2014-15, I think. Sierra Leone, 600 health workers. You don't want to mess with Ebola, so I'm going to add that to my story. So I guess this is part 3 of the more current talk in the past. So it's September 9th, 2017. So this year, prepping while a raw foodist. I actually had a dehydrator. I would make kale chips and what's the other one? Tomatoes, like sliced. Like, it's not sun dried, but dried tomatoes. And when I was eating meat, I used to do fish a long time ago, so I found worms and a lot of worms. And I was eating smoked salmon before that, and I found a lot of worms. And where I found the worms was the peppercorn flavored from Wild Oats. They had the regular salmon you got plain. I would eat it flake by flake. I didn't really see worms. I didn't know there were worms at first until I took this biology class, and he brought a jar of salmon tapeworms that someone got eating sushi. And you would say, oh, they use good fish that doesn't have worms, tapeworms. And we would go outside Wild Oats. If it was light, if it was getting dark, bats would fly back and forth, and it freaked me out. And we would like sit outside the car. There's like trees near the parking lot, and me and my kids, because we didn't have we were always commuting and having to go to school, and we had got sucked into volunteering at church too frequently. And we didn't live anywhere near the church, so we would stop. We'd already commute from one side of town to the next, which could be a more than 2-hour drive back, which is less than 10 miles on a freeway. And so we would stop at the store, get a salmon, like a little piece. Everything is expensive even back then. And I noticed the black peppercorn one, when you opened it, it had these curlies. So my hair is super curly, and it had these like little white curlies. And I would be outside, I'd like fling them. I'd be like, ooh, what is that? It looks weird. And then I found out, I told my friend that I went to Winco, and I took a fork to a piece of fish, and I looked in it, and it was full of these curlies. I was like, oh my god, those are tapeworms. I just grabbed the food. It was a nice big salmon. Threw it in the garbage. My relatives like, you should return that. They shouldn't be selling food with salmon. I went to Wild Oats New Seasons and asked the meat guy, I was like, how can I get salmon without worms? Like, that's just part of it. That's why we cook our food. And he says, well, fish are in the water, and water has worms, and what do fish eat? When you go fishing, worms, it's just a part of life. Deal with it. That's why we cook our food. And so I stopped dehydrating, not because of that, but I didn't do salmon because of salmon tapeworms, and I was doing, what's the fish that's popular out here? I think I don't have a whiting fish. Orange roughy sounds so good right now. Tuna sounds so good. Oh my god, tuna fillet sounds so good. You cook it as a fillet with butter, and then add a dab of mayonnaise. Oh my god, I'm about to do food relapse right now. Whatever kind of fish is in the Pacific Northwest, halibut, yeah. I had some halibut, and I put in a dehydrator, so I soaked it with a lot of salt. And I was literally, because of that commuting, I had gone from Northeast Portland or North Portland, one of those two, drop my kids off in Southwest. We have to drive through Beaverton and get back into Portland. And then I was going downtown for morning rush hour to get to class, and it was either morning or afternoon, I don't know, but it had some salmon or I think it was halibut that I dehydrated and made like jerky. So basically, like soaked it for 1 or 2 nights in a salty brine that I made, maybe olive oil. I just rubbed olive oil and spices on it and left it on a plate with plastic wrap. I don't really like to soak things with olive oil because it's expensive, like, I don't do, like, a saltwater brine like people do for the holidays for turkeys or whatever they do. I don't know. I've never done it. Then I would put it in the dehydrator, and it would shrink down, and you basically have dry fish, which you can get a yellowfin. Barbara World Foods has dry fish. I cut my gums really bad on this junk before, more than once, because it's like almost the whole fish, but the head and the guts are gone. So you have like the fins. Like, oh my god, I cut myself really bad. So they have like, it's written in Russian, so I can't read it, but they have these fish flattened out and put on a tray, like jerky. When I used to keep it in the freezer, I used to eat it, tear a piece off and eat dry fish, and it's mostly like skin. But I cut myself so many times, and my mouth was bleeding. I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not sure how you're supposed to eat it. Maybe you're supposed to rehydrate it. Or eat carefully. And I ended up being at a stoplight. I took a bite of this fish, and it was so good. You put your own seasoning, Redmond's real salt. And because I was at a stoplight, I looked down instead of just throwing it in my mouth. Because you're like reaching over just to get your bag of food, and I looked down, and there was a worm coming out the top. Oh my god! And I think I had either bit off or it was a cut piece, and it scared the crap out of me. Like, it was a big worm, and it was inside of my food. And no, it wasn't cooked. It was dehydrated, and it was in salt, but it wasn't in like a ridiculous amount of salt where people cure foods to kill stuff like that. If you salt something so much, it's not going to be able to survive. But I don't think I would, again, being a cheapskate, I don't see myself using a ton of salt, and I have, I guess you could salt stuff with cheap salt and then soak it again. So my uncle did that once with Kippers. No, maybe it was Kippers. I don't know if it was Kippers. I started eating Kippers out of a can for a while. Oh my god, I loved it. I would find a lot of eggs inside. I used to eat sardines. I used to be like, open up the sardine and find a whole bunch of fish eggs inside of the fish, and it kind of weirded me out. Like, so I don't do vegan and vegetarian. I do beef products, but I don't do vegetarian necessarily for the ethics. But it's really hard to have all these eggs. It was kind of grossed me out. Like, I'm not someone who eats like escargot or all this stuff. I could smell my kale. My son's gonna be like, what the heck? Oh, it's probably because it's coming through there. So going back to the prepping, when I was eating fish, I wanted the healthy fats in the protein and just have something that tasted good. And so I would, after that incident, I don't think I ever dehydrated again. And then I switched to buffalo, and for some reason, I bought a buffalo piece of steak once, it's a tiny one, and it says do not overcook, and I cooked it, and it was tough, so I might have done it wrong, or I might have overcooked it, or maybe I undercooked it. Sometimes you get really cheap beef, and you undercook it, and it's like gristle, and then you like overcook it, and it's like falls apart in your mouth. It's not like the steak that actually falls apart in your mouth, and I couldn't eat it. I don't know if the kids ate it. I doubt it. I probably ate it to not waste this little piece of meat. And I was like, ew. So I started buying buffalo bison, ground bison. And what I did was put in a bowl with spices, onions, turmeric, salt, soy, big brag liquid amino, who knows, probably olive oil. And I'd make these little patties, like these little tiny thin, and I'd put them in the dehydrator, and I'd flip them, and it was so good that the grease would drip down into the trays. They had like the squares, and it would make that pattern. So you have a nice texture on your tongue. You could flip them if you wanted, and if they were thick, you'd keep them in there. So basically, they'd form and dehydrate, and you would be able to like tear it, but it wasn't. It was like kind of like cubed or processed lunch meat that's like made into a shape and then cut into slices. So you think that you're eating a whole turkey breast, but you're eating mechanically. I don't know about mechanically separated meat, but you're eating like something that was formed into like a sausage and then recut. So I actually got a coupon today for the kids for dinner sausage. I've done that before. It was the Etrich Farm or something. And they're like, as far as I remember, they had MSG in it. So I don't know. I mean, that was good. And people, my mom would make the cabbage. I hated when she did that. The cabbage with the meat. I love the meat. It had a bunch of onions in it too, so I could tolerate the cooked cabbage. But then there, you would get the onion, I'd be like, ew, because it kind of has that texture like that tapeworm I was talking about, the big ones. So when I went to Buffalo, I'd have buffalo. I could put some in a baggie, stick it in the freezer, put some, keep some in there, and then I'll put a couple in the freezer. So then I would have stuff to take to school, pre-made, and that's what I said about actually having 3-day weekends where you could study from home and then do those. My kid's gonna say something about this kale smell. So after that incident, I had the buffalo. I never bought another one of those, but I experimented the same way with the beef. If I had beef on sale, or get my daughter, somebody told me about the shredded beef in the crock pot. So then I would take cuts of that, because only one person eats that. I used to eat that. I think it doesn't sound like it is, but it was low temperature. And every time I took the temperature, I swore it was like less than 120, less than 130. But I would eat it when I was doing raw food. Low cooked meat. Because at that point I got paranoid and started pushing the buffalo up to 165. I would say at least for 15 minutes, but I probably would fall asleep. Oftentimes that's, oh my gosh, the date is expiring, I have to make this before I go to bed, instead of just saying, hey, I'm going to go to bed. Because then it's harder to handle. If you throw it in the freezer, you're not going to want to leave it in the fridge. So at the date, you don't want to leave it in the fridge for another 2 to 3 days to thaw. And because of that, sometimes I only did that a couple of times where you stick the, we don't have a microwave or anything. You stick the, if I want it raw, I don't want to put it in there, but you can defrost stuff in a bucket of water, a bucket of warm water. So I've only done that a couple of times, literally, like in the past 2 years. So when I had stuff in the freezer, it didn't last long because it tasted really good. But I would have all of those cans of Kipper snacks, and even the dry meat or the dry fish from the Barber World Foods, the Russian packages. And then I would have the sardines. We get hot sauce, mustard. We ate so many sardines. My kids, they had a sardine eating contest at camp, and I think I went to this kids camp. Why was I at kids camp? I think I was doing the soundboard. I went once to do soundboard, I went once just to hang. I tried to do a soundboard at both of them. I don't know. Anyways, I would go to I went to kids camp a couple of times. Couldn't have one of those teaching jobs or whatever. But I got to do this thing for this business thing. I got to do it. My kids won whichever kid or both kids, they won the sardine eating contest. And this little boy we used to hang out with was like, can you teach me how to eat sardines? This is disgusting. How do your kids eat these? And I was like, I think we had some, or they gave us the rest because nobody else wanted it. I was like, he's like, can I have some? I was like, yeah, this is so good. And he's like, can you teach me to like this? But my mom or my grandma would carry sardine cans in the car in case we had an emergency. So that whole prepping, that whole canned goods, that coming from the Great Depression, I don't know. None of my family would tell me stuff about life or their past. The only thing I knew about my mom, she thinks the neighbor poisoned one of her dogs and killed it. That's a horrible thing. And okay, we'll do this. And she used to play tennis. They used to round the kids up and put them in the back of a, not semi truck, but a back of a pickup truck and take them to play tennis. She could have been a pro. My mom was really, really good at tennis. As a young person who always begged her to play and try to start, she would find some guy on the base who would be like, "Oh, you want to play?" So they'd kick me to the curb. But I played a little bit, and then when I got on a tennis team, I was made number one. Me and Mary got to be number one. Doubles, and then I worked my way up. Basically, it was number one doubles. Where do you work yourself up in singles? Number 4, number 3, number 2, number 1. So we had one number 1 player. She was good. She was pregnant. My mom let her play. My mom was super ultra conservative. Didn't have pierced ears. She said they didn't believe in it because they're Methodist. But I heard she didn't believe in reading the Old Testament. So I think some of their teachings was Old Testament taken out of context. Well, as I read the Bible and I see people trying to quote something, like if you have a book written by Lutheran or Methodist, like, you can't do this, the Bible says not to do this. If you go read like the whole chapter, the whole Old Testament, the whole New Testament, you realize, like, I don't know, like they say about braiding the hair and wearing gold. I braid my hair. If I had gold, I'd wear it. Period. So, but I think they're saying, what's your vanity? You're using all your money, all of your time is spent making yourself this beautiful, like a prostitute or whatever, but you're not caring about your community or your family, or I don't know. And don't quote me on it, but that's one of them where you decide that you don't want to do your hair in a straightener like everybody else in my family uses a straightener in their hair. I've seen one other person, a younger cousin, not use a straightener in her hair. And I've seen one cousin when it's trendy to do braids, or there's mostly weave in their hair. So I see one relative, if it becomes trendy for someone on TV, like Oprah does something, they'll do it. But it's not because they're like, gee, I don't want chemicals in my hair, or gee, so I like braid my hair, as you've seen, because I don't know. This guy I watched this morning was like, all hair is good hair. Like, if you have 4C hair, I like your hair. It's like a universe. Like, and he always says, what do white guys think? But he's talking about himself, or he heard his buddy say something. It's like, you don't even know, literally, if this guy has, like, been dating somebody or been friends with a black woman with natural hair, natural black hair, that's the 4C, very, very curly, and had a fro or had a ponytail or had braids, like, like, my ex-husband would know, like, that I would sit and watch TV and braid my hair, because people would have weaves, and when I was in college, I would see these people and they're like, I can't leave the house. I might not be in class next week. Like, why? Oh, because she's starting my hair Friday night, Friday after school, and I'm not going out of the room until it's done. I was like, that's weird. Like, I didn't like ever have a weave, and so I was like, why can't it's like half my hair is gonna be done in one part. Like people, like I had this hair like I have is so like you see my hair is not very healthy. It's not full and it breaks off really easily. And I had so many perms with hair shorter than this, straightener perms, and it would take like 8 hours, and it would take all 2 big tubs of chemicals. Like, oh, you have a lot of hair. Like, I used to have a lot of hair till it got burnt off. My scalp aches. It's like in pain since like at least 10 years ago. And I'm like, really like, people are like, oh, you're stupid. Your hair would look better if you had a fro or if you like let it out and had like curls. But the curls, the last couple times I tried that, my hair's gonna really mess. Like, yeah. The last couple of times I tried that, I have to wash it tomorrow, by the way. My hair just broke off. And so if I have braids, then the edges would like break off. So it's like really, really bad, really, really damaged, really, really brittle. And that's one thing about you're like, oh, maybe I don't want to date anybody because they're going to be like, your hair is so brittle. And my daughter complains, her hair's everywhere, but my hair's everywhere. Hers is straight and socially acceptable, and mine is not socially acceptable. So it's like, whatever, but it's like your DNA made your skin, your hair, your eyes that way, your teeth shape, even your teeth shape, how fast your nails grow. If you have beauty marks and stuff, your DNA made you that, and so it's hard when you're that got damaged, and now you can't even have what you. I mean, there's a lady we see that got burnt by a fire. Like her DNA was one shape of her face, and now her face is kind of like drooped, and the skin is like waxy because of the scars, and so your something in life altered it, and now it's not really. It might heal. My hair might never heal, but I know when I unbraided it a couple times, if I braid it one at a time, all of my hair just broke off. So one time it was like kind of longish, and imagine like this happened like 2, 3 times at least. Like, I think people that have a lot of hair, like, oh my god, I keep having to go get it cut, and they say this, and they complain about the hair growing out, they have to go bleach it again. Like, all these people, like, you want to imagine, like, you just, like, almost, like, wake up, and, like, half your hair is gone, and it's like you're trying to just be human, and it's, like, kind of out of your control. And then you'll be like, oh, there must be something wrong with you, or you must not know what you're doing. But like, do you realize that most people that you see, and I'm not talking about the Muslim people I now have straight, like hair like my daughter's. It's curly, but I consider it straight. It's wavy, ringlet, curly, silky, smooth. Like, these people that have hijabs on, their hair is like Barbie underneath that. And like, it looks like fake and shiny, like Barbie's plastic hair. And you don't see it. So as an African American with this type of hair, it's a different texture than those people in my neighborhood. And so it's like you don't know. Like, you don't know. All I know is like a lot of people in my family, if they have long silky hair that's brown or red, it's either A, relaxed, B, wig, C, weave. That's their business. I don't know. I don't want to ask them. But if you talk to whites or if you talk to guys, they'll be like, and not black guys, they'll be like, why is your hair so different than theirs? Why doesn't your hair look like that? Like, because they went to a store and they bought that hair and they paid somebody hundreds of dollars every 3 weeks to maintain and add and glue that hair on. And I don't understand it because I never had it done. We went to Chicago and I ended up with a blonde wig, and it was cute. And I had these rose-colored glasses. I actually had rose-colored glasses. I'm gonna get some. And I just think in my mind, like, my food smells really good. I'm gonna go put the fan on. But raw food, this food is gonna be warmer than I want because I don't have a dehydrator, and someone gives us sometimes bags of tomatoes, and I don't have time. I don't have money to go get a dehydrator, even a cheap $30 one. I went to a checkout line to buy one, and I was like, shoot, it doesn't have a timer on it. Like, I had a couple coupons at Fred Meyer. I was like, oh, like I was gonna commit to it because it was the last day of the sale, and I was about to pay for it with a coupon and go out to my car, and I changed my mind. I probably should have just got it because I want my stuff on low temperature. So when I had the dehydrator, I had, of course, the regular Ziploc bags, and I will be tell the truth about Ziplocs and foil and stuff. I do use that stuff because I found when I was like super homeless broke, I didn't have any paper towels. I barely had toilet paper. I don't even know how we. I think same thing. Wow, those when they had their like brands, there's really cheap now. Like Fred Meyer, and if Winco catches on, starts getting it for even cheaper. I have allergies. When I lost my job, I got Winco toilet paper, the cheap stuff, and I had the worst rash on my bottom side. It was like the same with female products. If I use the name brands, I get this horrible rash. I need to pause you because I need to find Secretary of State articles of organization. I should have that in my. Let's look. Articles of organization. Is this it? This is Start Business Guide. Yeah, this is Start a Business. I need that. I need to click on this link. I'm like, it's scaring me because I'm like, I don't want to find out that I forgot to do something. Like, oops, souls. I think it would be easier if you did sole proprietor. I should read that, but not right now. So, I'm looking for, there's like a lot of papers. I'm looking for a document. Sometimes you sign up stuff for your business, and they, like when I first was doing stuff, they're like, print this, save this, this is your only copy, and you're like, can I please have ability to access another. So I'm gonna see if I can access this article of organization. Register. I already registered. Print form. What does that mean? Does that mean they just? Okay, I don't want to do that. I want to log it. So basically, not having the ability to barter. If I had, say, I had like a bunch of honey and some water. Maybe it was like a brand I didn't mean like and somebody else has like canned meat and canned or like frozen fruit. And like, dude, like say those emergency stores are closed. Like even during the eclipse, the stores were out of food in Portland, and there was a couple gas stations. There's gas station literally ran out of gas during the eclipse, okay? And it wasn't even the eclipse. It was like a week before the eclipse in Oregon. We run out of food and water. Bottled water was gone. Gas was gone. You just get like super paranoid. And this is the problem with this website. I feel like it's really hard to log in to what you're looking for. And I am. Is this my Secretary of State? What is this? Business entity. Amended article organization. Oh, this is what they're talking about. But I hate looking up myself online. I'm like, oh. Oh, yeah. Okay. Information. Alright, let's download Secretary. Is this? Oh, yeah. State of Oregon. No. You said Secretary of State. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we're going to go to the business. I'm going to actually save it under this guy. Under this application. But I will save it. Right, let's just save it and upload it right now while I'm talking to you guys onto this. I have this list of stuff that I'm doing for this thing. I don't even know. It's for women and minority business owners. So I'm going to attach that right now. So yeah, because my kids eat differently, I might say, well, I would like to trade something I have for a different brand of water. Let's say they have mineral water that's unflavored. And I'll take the frozen mangoes, and I'll take the can of meat, but I don't want like the canned carrots because I won't eat it. It might be sweetened, this. So then if I were eating the way that I was a few years ago, I would say I have this stuff we don't want. I'll trade everything in your hands. But now it will get wasted, right? And so that's part of the problem. If there's an emergency and you are we've gone to a shelter and they had a closet the first night with food, you could get like a bunch of canned goods and macaroni and cheese. And it didn't matter if you have allergy. They might say, oh, you don't eat pork, or oh, your kid has a peanut allergy. But for the most part, they're gonna say take 2 of these cans of peas and some cheap mac and cheese and like a can of corn syrup and fruit. And you're not going to be able to say, oh, honey, like, please, do you guys have any produce? Like, oh, do you have, like, any raw nuts? But they need to be gluten-free, corn-free, tapioca-free. And I don't want preservatives. Like, you have dry fruit, like, raisins. I don't want any, like. So, being poor now, I tell you, it follows with money. I go into a store, and if I don't look at the labels for the stuff, and I bring it home, my mouth and my tongue starts swelling up. So your tongue swells up. It's angioedema. And then I'm like, oh, shoot. I got excited looking at the label that said raw or preservative free, but then it has all these like pseudo preservatives. You're like, stuff says nitrate free, but it's got celery seed and it's got this and this. It's like, well, those all. It's like, except for, you always see the little star. It's like nitrate free except for naturally occurring and blah 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 blah. Like sodium free except for 4%. Like, and you're just like, why don't you just. Like, so then I end up, if I open it, I'm like, who will take my food that's not still, I don't know what this is, company profile. So what I need is, I need my lease agreement, shoot. So document proof of contributions. Bank statements. Oh my god. Okay. So I'm gonna do the flyer next. I'm getting there. I just had to like the people that have their basements and their pantries full of preps, and then they are at work, and this lady was getting ready for hurricane. Her battery died, and she had to get jumped, so she can go to the store and get the battery replaced right before this hurricane that's coming. Supposed to come to Florida tomorrow. Excuse me. So it's like she could have been at work. She could have been like she says her grandparents are staying. These people are staying, so she's not leaving because she can't leave her parents because her parents won't leave her grandparents and all this. But she could have been like she said. Yeah, these people are like, oh, I have to go to an hour and a half to my doctor's appointment. Like you could literally like in Florida say you got stranded because the traffic unexpectedly got weird or a pre-storm came and flooded something. She was showing them put shutters up into the street flooded after 30 minutes of rain on the 7th, I think. So you're like, you could have your whole house full of preps, water, batteries, flashlights, like wool blankets, wool socks, all this stuff for your animals. And you could be a doctor's appointment and then be stranded. Like, what if her battery broke then and there's no more batteries and places are stuck or shut down? So then you're literally, so then for me, I would say trust my higher power. Trust my higher power anyway. What if you happen to forget your credit cards at home? Like, I clean my purse out, like, oh my God. Or, like, I've done this for work. They gave us the old credit card, the new one, and you're like, oh my God, my old credit card. I brought my old one. It just expired. Today's the 1st, and that one expired the 31st. Oh! And so you just have to trust in what's in your car. Like, I hate when you clean your car out and then you, like, oh, it's so cluttered out. Why are you going to break in? And then you took out water. Maybe you had a change of clothes. Maybe you had a can of dried nuts. All this stuff. Or raisins. And you took it out and meant to put it back in. But then, like, for us, we'll have inspection. Then it all ends up in the closet. So I got to go through this mess. There's actually is honey somewhere in there. I hopefully didn't melt all over. I felt like I told you yesterday that I hate doing the scenarios. I used to do that when I had days off school. So I'm not leaving the house for 2 days. And if I would have recorded me, I would have been going crazy. I never get anything done. I think I'm going to get all this stuff done. I don't get things done. I don't rest. I don't relax. I don't read. I don't watch TV. It is not good. So it's like my headspace. And like right now, I'm like, my eyes hurt really badly. My head hurts. My neck and back is killing me. So right now, it's 10:17. Oh, the sun's coming out, by the way. I always feel like when there's a hurricane back east, I still feel like we get the clouds blowing in up here because they basically go up, but around over Mexico and down and up, and maybe I'm just tripping out because we don't get that same storm on the Pacific coast. They get mist over there in the coast. They're at range, but not here. I need to drink some water. So I have raw cocoa, I have raw seaweed, I have some nuts. I forgot I have some stuff stashed in the freezer, but it's like little bits. Like I bought like this baggie of sun-dried tomatoes from the farmer's market. It didn't have a date, it have a label. It was just like a baggie. I was like, I don't even know. Like it creeped me out, but I bought it in the freezer. I'm like, so stuff hits the fan, and I had to dig through the house. The problem is, this stuff has hit the fan before. You think you have something, and you forgot you nibbled on it because you're so hungry. So just your higher power. We would knock on the door with tomatoes and onions and potatoes. So I get the tomatoes, me and the guinea pigs. I get the onions. The kids can get onions in their food, and then I'll get or the kids will get the potatoes, and mostly my son. So that's where that comes in. It's trying to pray that the right food catches you. Now I'm gonna say this because I keep talking about headspace, and I get embarrassed like, oh, people don't like me. I'm have no friends, and nobody knows anything about me because they don't take a chance. So then it's like, oh, I must have all these problems, so I won't let people know like about my hair or all these ailments with the pain from the car accident or the messy closet. But then I go broadcast to the world every little detail about my life. But um, it is what it is. Like I said, I don't see a lot of people like me, or they're really. My son got offended when I used the word simple. I was like, you're like the cat. Like if something happened, you're gonna leave the house with what's on your back, and you're gonna walk outside. You're not gonna be like, oh my god, I have to grab this. Oh wait, about those dishes. Oh my god, I need to. It's like I always have this like too much thinking and too much physical items that needs. But as a parent, I feel like if something happened in the house, there are some things that would be a lot easier, like grabbing your wallet and your car keys and your birth certificates if something happened. Um, After the kids and pets are safe, like as a adult and a parent, and there's two adults now. So the other thing about that is having where we had a Daniel's fast, which is basically just light food, meat free. However, I prayed about it. They had a strict list. Only like don't drink chopped butter, no chemicals, no preservatives, no food coloring, no artificial sweeteners, no bleached sugar, no bleached, like all this recommendations. So you're not actually fasting, but you are changing from just going to Starbucks, like maybe cut out caffeine. All like I did a personal prayer, and people said, "What's the point of you doing this? You already eat like this." So I was like, so basically, it's like getting chemicals out of your body so that you can be more open to what God says, because your clarity of the mind. The problem when I do detoxing and getting rid of that stuff, it starts to come out of storage like fat, and on a cellular level, if you stuff your house like a hoarder and then you stop hoarding, you could slowly start getting rid of stuff. But you can't start getting rid of stuff if you keep bringing it in. You're using all your energy to go shopping and bring stuff in and not be able to walk through the house. So it's kind of like, it's basically your body hoards chemicals, because when God made us and we're passed on from the first men and women, we are designed to eat like the wild animals eat, what is in the ground, natural trees, nuts, fruits, berries. And if people or animals eat meat, then it is what it is. But then when we're starting to mix food with chemicals and making stuff like people putting sawdust in the flour and the sugar back during the war as a filler, we weren't designed to break down certain chemicals. And it doesn't always just go from one end to the other. Your body gets in like inspection mode. Like, oh, some more is coming, man. Hurry up. Get this stuff out of here. We're not trying to process it. We can't get it out. The gut, like. So people's ears get heavy as they get older, or big. People's noses get bigger. People get this skin here, like that you see the commercial on TV. They get the plastic surgery to pull the skin out, skin here. This is a jowl. What's a jowl? And like feet, a lot of feet issues. And people that are not like peer-reviewed will take tissue samples and samples of fat, and it's a lot of. It's not just like, oh, you ate too much, so your fat cells are going to swell. It's like there's a lot of toxins and man-made stuff, basically stuff that's in the ground that shouldn't necessarily be cooked in your food and eaten. So despite cooked or raw food, you have these chemicals, you have these preservatives, you have stuff in the lab. I had this thing at work that was bacon flavored, and people were like, oh, bacon, it's got to be good. Like, is this vegan? Is this gluten-free? And I was like, to tell you the truth, like, I used to eat Bacos as a kid, and I was like, there's no bacon in Baco. I didn't know that until I started looking at labels for me and the kids. So, yeah, I was like, this actually, I don't know about gluten-free, but I'm like, as far as I can see the label, there is no bacon in this bacon flavor thing. It says artificially flavored. So you watch those shows where people take the stuff in the lab and they mix these chemicals and they get that taste just right. And then that's what's poured into the thing. Some things you have flavor enhancers, MSG, salt, different combinations, then you might actually have real bacon. but you might have chicken fat, and you might have this, and you might have cheese, and then you might have artificial flavors. And then if you have natural, you'll have, read the label, there's stuff you can't pronounce. Supposedly natural, it's also a flavor enhancer. So what they're doing is they're getting the same thing from a plant base, or somehow it's allowed to be used. It's like for naturopaths, we're allowed to do a lot of stuff, but it wasn't in the fine print. So it's like you check the fine print and you find out, like, oh, can you use, let's say, Jello brand? No, we can't use Jello brand. Oh, can we use this brand that starts with an? Oh yeah, it's not on the exclusion list. So basically, you have like the same product, different brand name. Anyways, it's so complicated. But if the stuff hits the fan, and I was sitting here for 3 months, the question is, I would have no preps. You know, everyone says grow a garden. I used to sprout stuff, and I have gotten away from all that stuff. It's time consuming. There's no space. If you have no space in your kitchen, your counters, and your refrigerator to store this stuff to grow in your yard, it's pointless. It's just, you start it and you don't have room, elbow room, and then your stuff rots, and you got mold, and you're attracting fruit flies, and you waste, if you bought the materials or bought new seeds, you're basically wasting it. So I stopped buying the seeds, and some of them actually are really old. They need to be thrown out. So I have to go through, basically my biggest thing, besides in many stages of my life, has been to declutter. So one of the biggest things that I want to tell you is, if I declutter, or when I declutter, sometimes I declutter and those people help me, and then it traumatized me, and then I recluttered. It's like, I just call it detox retox. It's like people go on these cleanses and drink these pea protein powder shakes, and then they would do that for 3 weeks, lose all this weight, skin's better, and then they retox. They go back to the old diet. Who cares? Do that. Everyone is different. But when I did the Daniel fast, I couldn't afford to eat that all the time. We were still eating out of food boxes from the food pantry and stuff. And I prayed, God, please help me to afford the food that I need. Please help me so that I can continue to feed my kids. And at that time, they're eating free lunch and free breakfast if they want at school. Yeah, there are no free lunches, but they were so used to being malnourished, they didn't take advantage of it anyways. I couldn't afford sandwiches and stuff, but during that first Daniel fast, I wanted to afford sandwiches and stuff. Like, can you imagine not even be able to afford to feed your kids sandwich and be like, you guys are snobby eating the nitrate-free lunch meat. You guys should be eating peanut butter and jelly. And if you can't afford jelly, then you throw some peanut butter on a piece of white bread. Like, who do you think you are giving your kids turkey sandwiches with mayonnaise that doesn't have MSG in it? Like, you loser. Like, they would yell at me, and then other people would be like 1% of people would be like, wow, your kids look so healthy, and they're well behaved, and they're not hyperactive, and they're really smart, and they're spiritually connected, and you're just like, you're not trying to create like a machine, you're building like a computer as your kid. But basically, we had literally guinea pigs. Basically, you do an experiment, and it's like you have a guinea pig yourself first, and then you say, will they be healthier? Will their skin clear up? Will their thinking be better if they don't have these other things? And you see, even in my neighborhood, the fluorescent bulbs they replaced, all the kids in the neighborhood start acting a lot more like spastic. And then everyone's on a Wi-Fi. And my neighborhood in the welfare area is probably a lot more Wi-Fi than a regular suburb, because people's rent is so low that they have so many devices and so many phones. Every kid, like you have a 3-year-old, they got their own cell phone, their own tablets. You got 10, 11 people in a house, everyone's got their own cell phones and tablets, and then computers and laptops and TV, smart TV, and all that stuff. So I think it's just a matter of praying, asking God for provision, and then remembering, like I kept saying with the Cody Linden book, that it's a lot of what's in your head, your survival skills. If you gotta leave, if you're stranded and a hurricane comes and all your preps are at home, you're going to be like, oh, you're going to wish you had some in the trunk of your car. Even if your car is stranded on the side of the road, at least you have water. I try to leave a little bit of that in the car, because you never know. Like earthquakes, tornadoes, you never know when and where they're going to strike. And it's like, I don't have a lot of food in the car, or honey or anything. I was really hungry the other day. I had a stomachache. I found honey sticks. I read somewhere that they were raw, to tell you the truth. I don't see that on the label. Some stuff that used to say raw on the label, they don't say it anymore. I'm like, look on the website. It's like, it still says it's uncooked and like I get weirded out, like if they change the formula or if people are scared, like raw eggs, don't eat it. But I just have to do like that praying and ask that God provides for us, because if the whole world has no storms, no tornadoes, no hurricanes, bottles on the shelf, water's all filled, the gas stations are always full. If you don't have a dime, you're going to go to the food pantry and you might not make it, or they might run out of food. So then you still have to trust, if you have your own personal disaster, you still have to trust that your higher power can help you, first of all, to stay alive, to keep your body temperature alive. Second of all, to make sure you have water, that you have water at least every day, because after a few days, you'll perish of dehydration. And then food comes after that, and then other things like clothing, bedding, shoes, and socks. And to end this portion of raw food, and then like I'm kind of talking to myself, and I say keep the faith, because I mean they do say, hey, carry a kit in your car, put an emergency kit in your office, put an emergency kit, have your workplace to make sure you have the first aid kit all filled up and have the flashlights working. In some places you have to have that stuff, but let yourself do the things, but make sure this and your spiritual connection is good, because your spiritual connection might make your family work together. I've had kids call home, mommy, brother's really, really sick. You gotta come home now from work or school. So, like something could happen where someone's sick. The other kid thinks, call mommy, bother mommy, bring her home, and an earthquake could happen at work. And then, so sometimes the spiritual connection is, if you had stayed, you would have been stranded, could have been killed or hurt. Like, I'm just throwing that out there, why things happen. Oh God, I'm gonna get in trouble by my boss again because I went home early. Oh my God. But then sometimes it could be like God works in mysterious ways, and you don't know how that's gonna play out. And it's like having like a plan, having preps, having an emergency fire exit plan. And one of the hardest things that I have, that I keep telling you about, is teamwork, and not having friends, family, not having like a spouse, and doing this as kids get older. It's looking like I'm going to do all this alone, and it's like having this situation is like, I've tried to talk to my so-called friends locally about, if there's an emergency, I'm going to give you a map. I'm going to meet you at this place. If I have to get out of town, so there's a nuke, like another September 11th, like what are you talking about? Like, you ever heard of Doomsday Prepper? Have you ever heard of something's happening or fire's coming, you gotta get out of town? They're like, I'm like, well, I'm gonna give you a map, because you can. And they're just like, I don't want your freaking map, weirdo. Like, you're like, I'm like, I'm trying to build a band of people that I don't feel like they're gonna find out I have something in the trunk of the car, just cut my throat and steal my car, my kids, and my stuff, and my cash. Like, I kind of want someone you can trust. People who have weapons. People know, like, if you have cash, or stuff to barter with. People would barter with ammunition, batteries, anything, you name it, silver. And you want someone you can trust. So I try to talk to a couple of people about what happens in emergency. I talked to a couple of people in the neighborhood, including the lady that God says don't touch this person. They said hi, they good morning. I went to go to the garbage, and I was like, oh no. They're like, good morning. And I waved and said hi to their dog. I couldn't bring myself. I was like, I should have ran into the house. I had that bad taste in my mouth. But I feel like when I was talking to that lady, she goes, I don't care. I have so much food. If there's an emergency, I'll give food to everyone. I'll knock on everyone's door. And she always brags about how she's helping everyone. It's like she has a lot of bread and crackers and all this. I can't eat it, I even have some dates in there that look like they're covered with sugar. Um, I'm kind of scared to eat them. I should go and call the company and ask if they put any preservatives or sugar. Because it might be just that they're cut in the date sugar, but the thing is, I don't know, sometimes they cover stuff with cornstarch, or they don't disclose that they do that with turkeys and stuff. So I need to call the company and ask them, I'm going to redonate it. I'm like staring at my phone like, no, 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 just kidding. I need money. So I gotta get a flyer, and I'm just gonna keep rolling. This is the old. There's no new. So when it comes up on the flash, it comes up the old messages, and it doesn't tell me anything. I have to get, somebody had an offer for a book. It is review offer. They want it for $5. I'm selling it for $6.25. Crap, I think I just lowered the price. It's a hardcover. It's a really nice book. I don't want to sell it. If I just raise the price. I gotta get rid of stuff. So, one is using your brain and prepping. And the preppers, even the people that are prepping more, they're wanting to get more water. They have stuff in their garage. They have containers at home they're going to fill. They have batteries and flashlights. People in Florida, they're used to these storms. It's hurricane season. People in the Midwest, people used to cold. People used to ice. I got to get ready for ice, actually, and snow myself. But power outages occur, sewer backups occur, water quality goes down, and you have to boil water. And they even say don't even brush your teeth with this water. Um, so you have the intelligence, you have the ability to see the news even if you can't read and write, and you have the ability to be portable and not have everything in these huge crates you can't carry or you can't fit in your car. What if your car gets stolen or breaks down, or you literally that day, for me, like, oh my god, I have $2 in my bank account, I'll get money at midnight, I'll go to the gas station in the morning. What if the stuff hits the fan, electricity's out in the morning, you can't get gas? Like, you almost rather have overdrawn your bank account or got $2 worth of gas, literally. Um, because once the electricity's out, there's no way they're going to be able to pump it for you, right? Even if you paid cash, I don't think those machines work. So it's a matter of trying to keep up what you can. Um, and we had an electromagnetic pulse a few years ago where the sun put out the, it was like 2-3 years ago, all the radio stations. So it was enough to knock out radio stations for a few minutes because of the pulse, electromagnetic. So you have all of these different things. I learned a lot in Michigan about eating wild plants, what you can eat in nature, what you stay away from in nature, what's the antidote to this if you touch this. And then you have, like, hoping to have friends, friend or foe, and you also have to watch your back. You watch Doomsday Preppers where the people, like, turn on each other, the families fight, or they all meet out at this bunker. You see the one where they arrest the family and say, the roadblock, oh no, like they're doing like a dry run and they got a roadblock and they're scaring everyone, putting guns in people's faces. That was pretty sad. They should have done that. People had a heart attack. It's like taking a teenage daughter, like, oh my god. But you have these people, this truck driver with dogs that were preppers, and they just had all their preps in the back. People that have bug out land, people that have stuff buried away from their house, so that if there's martial law and they can't get to their house, they run through the woods and they pull this chain up and grab their, So there's all these scenarios, but I think the best thing is, like, you can pray that nothing happens, but storms happen. You can't stop that. It's part of life and Earth. It's atmosphere, the weather is changing, the water temperatures are changing. And then you also have where you're, like, if you want to have community, you want to have, like, you could be married and have the best spouse, have bug out location. He has a big old truck and trailer in the back, and you got a way to bring the horses and all of your electronics. I always say electronics. And he built you a Faraday cage, and you could find out the day before a disaster that he was, like, cheating on you or something, or you could have a disaster, you could get hit in the head, and now he's not able to do anything with the tree, and you're gonna have, or electrocuted and killed. Like, you want to depend on your friends and family and your material items, but at the same time, when it comes down to it, like and this is a really, really hard one for me, when you're on the airplane, you listen to the lady talking in the video about the oxygen mask, put your oxygen mask on first before you put it on someone else, basically your kids. And then the same with the people that are in the rows. If you're able to be able to remove the door and evacuate people from the plane, you got to be strong enough to be able to do it. If you're not, so you're out to be strong enough to do it, they're not going to put kids there, and you also have to be strong enough to help others. So you're going to be kind of designated, you know. So with that, I just realized this old church. I threw away a bunch of from the old church lessons CDs, and it was really hard. So one of my big things is enjoying life on life's terms. When you have emergency money, 3 to 6 to 9 months expenses in the bank account, you can sleep better at night. Especially like you keep your wallet and stuff locked up so nobody steals it, which could happen. It could be a bank error. The banks could shut down. You never know when the market crashes, and you don't have that in cash or in gold. And then like having friends, so having your emergency stuff so you could sleep at night, having a little bit of gas in your car, like, well, at least you could get somewhere if you had to. You might be broke down on the side of the road. You might have to siphon somebody else's gas, or some people have gas cans for their lawnmowers. You might break down outside the house and be like, please, sir, I need to buy that from you. Like, you never know. It's a hot commodity, but you might be first come, first serve kind of thing. You might have something they have to offer. And then you want friends and allies, but those could come later if you find like-minded people. So I think the best thing would be to do some sort of prepping. For me, like if I have a jar of honey and I have a few sheets of seaweed and some frozen nuts in the freezer and some frozen fruit, like that might only last 24 hours, but that's 24 hours versus 24 minutes if something happens. So keep something in your house, in your car, in your bag. Even like those raw granola bars for me, like you can eat. I don't want to eat it. It's the dates hurt my teeth, but it's something that you don't. You could eat a little bit and rinse your mouth out. Like I would eat um, bits of this granola bars, the Lara bars. Some of them are cooked, some of them aren't. Like the chocolate chip ones have sugar. I won't eat those ones. I used to. And then don't have a little bit of stuff when there is no storm. So if a storm comes, then yeah, you try to go out and get more for you and your family. But if it runs out before you get to the store, and you hope to have that emergency fund, you want an emergency fund and the 3 to 9 months of living expenses. And I don't have it. I used to have that, and now I don't. Why? Because I had a financial crisis. And so you're gonna want to um, enjoy get a little bit of prep, set aside a little bit of money, and then go out and volunteer. Go out and go to work. Go out and be a good Samaritan or good citizen. But don't just do stuff because it sounds good. Like I went to that church for 9 years, and a lot of stuff sounds good. It's like going to a psychologist or a counselor. Oh, have you tried journaling? Oh, have you tried this? Like a lot of stuff sounds good. It sounds friendly. Go make your neighbor some cookies. Go help your neighbor move. Oh, they're stuck in a snowstorm. Take a shovel over it. But it's not always biblical. It's not saying it's bad, but it's not always biblical. So it's not always the law. Maybe God doesn't want you to take care. I wanted to take my neighbor's cookies and brownies for a holiday, but they're very big and they have health issues where they shouldn't have that food. So my mind kept saying over and over, I should take it, I should take it. But I felt like it's counterintuitive. I still might take it. And I was like, should I just take a fruit basket? And still, yeah, do that. Take some cheese and some fruit. And maybe a little chocolate so they can have a little bit. I should probably do that, yeah. Because I meant to do it. But, there's stuff that sounds good, but then when I left the church, I said, God, I want to make sure I know that's from you, so I'm going to stay in prayer and meditation, which I was still learning how to meditate because my mind just doesn't stop and it gets distracted by what's going on around me. And so this is so hard. I felt more and more like some stuff sounds good. They might say, go donate your car to the Salvation Army right now. That's a good idea. And everyone that has a bunch of junkers in their backyard, they donate. And I get rid of my only car, and I can't afford to replace it. They took good care of this one. They're like, how am I supposed to get to work tomorrow? And then the church would be like, you're an idiot. Like, you guys told us all, so then then you're sitting there and you kind of call and work saying, I'm not coming, I sold my car, I'm not coming, I can't buy a new one. I don't live on the bus line, like, oh my god. So something sounds good, sounds friendly, it sounds kind, it sounds loving, what would Jesus do? But if it's not biblical, it might not be biblical for me, and that's not saying your faith. Even stuff in the Bible, there's a lot of stuff pertaining to an individual, and it's their life lesson, and it's their obedience. If God tells someone in the Old Testament to go conquer the city, it doesn't mean I gotta go to the Middle East right now with primitive weapons and conquer a city. Just because it's in there doesn't mean we have to do everything. So then you see the values and the lessons and the love of God. And then you see the ultimate sacrifice, and you have a personal relationship without being a prophet with your higher power, which may not be the biblical God. And you have, for me it is, and you have a real time, get up, do this. Go take a nap. Get on the email and do this, or, and it's all that kind of stuff, right? It's all that kind of, what you're doing in real time is based on your relationship with your higher power, and it's based on your relationship with of what making sure, like, I have had the majority of humans who have given me advice has been the complete opposite of what I heard through prayer and meditation. It has been the complete opposite of what's in my religious text, and it's caused me a lot of, I gotta go scan this flyer, it's caused me a lot of, oh shoot, this is the old one, it's caused me a lot of, I should probably print that Secretary of State thing. I'm gonna do it, it might be in here, I don't know, I don't like having a lot of papers, but, it took me a long time. I'm gonna print it right now. So it's like, I had a lot of people telling me all of this stuff, and it's not matching up with, wait, where'd it go? I must have saved it on the computer. It's not matching up, with what I felt for years was my path. And that's another thing, if you have friends or relatives, if they say, you really should do this, and I had probably the worst relatives. It's like, oh my god, like they just continually tell me, this is the old one that has a typo in it, and it has a typo with the zip code, and to tell you the truth, I don't know. Where the new one is. I had a new one. I had it recently. I just don't know what I did with it. That's a problem area. So I'm gonna go open the windows and turn the fan on because it smells like kale in here, and my kids are not going to like that. I don't want to be cheesy. Oh wait, here's one. I think I was like, I don't want to be cheesy, but I'm gonna have to use. Yeah, here's the new one. So I gotta scan it. It's a really bad picture too. All the original stuff I had was on my old computer, and it never went onto my external hard drive when I did the backups. So I'm like, every one of my papers for my business is like, I either have a paper copy or I have no copy. So right now I'm gonna go check on the storm, I heard a bunch of people already have electricity off and stuff, so I'm kind of a storm chaser. Um, what I wanted to say, and this was supposed to be a shorter video, was that when I watched people prepping, like even out here when the eclipse was coming, like there's gonna be a million cars on the road at the same time. And if I would have gone 45 minutes south, I would have been stuck in traffic for a few hours, and I wouldn't have been able to get to work on especially my daughter. And I really wish that I could have gone south with the kids. My son wanted to go. And it sucks to have like a once in a lifetime thing and you can't drive 45 miles because you have to work. If all the days they didn't have me work, they scheduled me for that day, and I didn't know in enough advance time. I was like, but I had so little time that I had to work for that $60 was the difference between whether I pay my rent or not, right? So then it becomes hard to have a once in a lifetime opportunity becomes that could put me out in the street, literally, and it sucks because I don't have that emergency fund I keep telling you guys to have. Because I've been in emergency crisis for years since I graduated from medical school. So learning from that and the news and listening even to Red Cross, people criticize, but how much water you should have. Make sure to check batteries. Like I've had flashlights where batteries are in there, and then the whole thing is the batteries leak and destroy the flashlight. So even just checking them, even like playing, like you don't want to play with stuff that has D batteries. You're like, oh, I'm gonna waste it, but you keep using it, and then if the batteries die, you get rid of them right away, so you don't ruin the whole thing. Like I've had to replace the lantern. I've shown you, this is just a cheap version, but I had to replace the Coleman lantern because the battery incident that I told you about. It was a cute one. It had one where you could make a reflector on the back so that it's only shining in one direction, not a circle, not 360. I think it was incandescent. I have two LEDs, and that's an LED little. I have a big LED Coleman and a big LED, a big incandescent, which I like that warm glow. But I think the biggest thing for me is um, like checking the stuff, watching these other people, and like I should mind my own business and get listing on my. They're like, if you're not in Florida, list on eBay or list your items. Like, shoot, she's right. I'm just watching these guys get ready. They have basically closed down schools and work. They don't. They're not sitting here, and these people have money. You see their houses. They have nice houses, nice cars. They have family. They had family houses with swimming pools and stuff. So it's like, wow, you guys are living the life big time. And then what I was saying last night, I'm sorry, this is a lot longer than I thought, was cleaning out that big pot to replace another one, the ones without plastic handles, and the even though I have a rusty what do you call that bake thing, the big thing where you're like a stock pot where you're supposed to put a whole chicken in it, cook it all day. I'm not gonna do it because the chicken's gonna come out red. But I have that. If the stuff hits the fan and we need to take stuff with us, we have from camping the little uh, hot water heater so you can put it on a campfire or on a camp stove. It's a really small one, so I can put it on a camp stove. I have three two iron skillet, little, big, and then the big pot with a lid. That lid would probably work on the little one on the skillet. I have the one I told you about that has the metal where you can boil water, and I don't know if I wouldn't use the glass if it was on a campfire. I think I'm scared of that. And then I do have some tin pans or like aluminum, non-disposable and aluminum disposable, a few things. Um, you can use either in the house or if you had to go to a campfire or use a camping stove because you don't want to use the glass stuff on a fire on a camping stove or on a fire. I don't know about a camping stove, but so even as a raw food is heating up water to sterilize it, heating up water to um, make cheese and cocoa, and having warm cocoa, not hot. I would still have the stuff. I have family. I would still heat up food, soups, meats, canned meats. So canned food is predominantly cooked. I don't know if there's any canned food that's not cooked, but it's like, what are you gonna do um, if I ran out of raw food? Like, I feel like my body would get sick based on past experience. So it'd be best not to run out or figure out the sprouting. You can recycle your sprouting water if you keep it from getting moldy. Um, Just the sprouts. So basically, you have seeds. If you had stuff hit the fan, you in 3 or 4 days, you would have edible, raw, fresh food. If you have water to keep the sprouts moist and airflow, which you could take that in the car. Like, I should put some in the car right now. But there's like fungus from my car leaking. I had to like. They told me it costs a lot of money to replace it. I should call in a warranty request. So yeah, there's other ideas. I think the easiest would be to be able to eat whatever you want. And if you go to a convenience store, stuff hits the fan, or you live next to a restaurant, and you got to get shredded pork and pork sandwiches with collard greens, like, if that's all they had, like, for me right now, if that's all they had, I would get it and give it to my kids. And if I didn't have anything, I might eat the collard greens, even if they put like ham hocks in it. Like I would try to refrain from eating the meat since I'm vegetarian. But if it came down to it, I would feel like I would eat a vegetarian meal, but it would have to be vegetables, no button mushrooms, no white mushrooms, no, because I'm last 2 times I had a severe allergic reaction to mushrooms. No corn, no tapioca, no wheat, um, and no potatoes and no rice. I'm allergic to all that stuff. So it'd have to be like, if all they had is salad kits left, but it had croutons in it, then I'm pretty much like, shoot. But if that's all they had, I would take it anyway. And I don't want to give my animals um, iceberg lettuce. Um, I don't think they've ever had it, but if you get a salad with pieces of cabbage and carrots cut up, then maybe it's worth getting it because I can eat it. I eat so little salad now that I get stomach aches. It's just hard to digest when you don't eat something. Your body kind of loses the enzymes. Um, but yeah, it's one of those things. Saying that you can even get to your house, you feel like the more money you have, the more batteries, the more water, the more generator, the more, you know. Oh, we have a cabin up here in a different state if we need to bug out, and you have an SUV and a trailer. Like, the more money you have, the more access you have to stuff, whether you know how to use it or not. But the more in poverty you're in, you feel like you kind of have to use your brain. But like I said, if something happened and the electricity was out tomorrow and I waited till midnight to get gas and the gas station is closed, and then like something happened like in Texas where people can't find gas for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they're flooded, they need gas to get to grandma's house with their big truck, they have none, no gas stations, no electricity, even if they had gas. Like, you would have wished you had the money to get it. So sometimes, like, money can really help you. It gives you more options, whether you're smart or dumb, right, or smart or stupid. But if you don't have money, it's like you have to just use your smarts or barter or, like, unfortunately for me, there's stuff I want to sell that my kids are like, no way are you selling that. Like, and I'm like, dude, seriously, I seriously need to sell whatever I can at this point in time. I want to buy this big pen. It's got a lot of ink in it. I'll just use it. My other pen is actually running out. But it's really hard when you're a parent and you feel like in your heart that you should have a community, that you should have a spouse. If you're not getting along with your kids' dad, you would wish that they would be able to have a relationship with that person. And when all that is taken from you, or you've never had it in the first place. My kids have never had a grandma, and their other relatives don't really care. Um, it's sad. It's such a lonely place, and you feel like even a sense of community and hope and love, no matter how distant you are from someone. It's really hard to not have that community. Then it's hard to say you're going to have a substitute adoptive family, and then you can't even find that. So it's kind of like you're Noah's Ark at that point.